What's up, you guys? It's Steve here with some pretty incredible news for those of you that are wanting to see more stimulus. As take a look at this headline that just came out in the last 24 hours, you guys. Bernie Sanders wants the Build Back Better bill back. That is right. You remember that reconciliation bill that originally progressives wanted to be $6 trillion, $7 trillion, $10 trillion with reoccurring monthly stimulus checks, child tax credits, Social Security increases of $200 per month, free childcare, free college tuition, all of these stimulus provisions. He's saying bring it back and bring back those provisions to help out and address the issues. And he's saying the Inflation Reduction Act, nobody is saying,
thank God we passed the Inflation Reduction Act. It's going to change my life.
He said it's not doing it, it's not cutting it. And he says that President Joe Biden's approval was highest March of 2021 when he passed the American Rescue Plan stimulus package. Bernie Sanders is saying, bring it back. Take a look at the subtitle. The Vermont Senator rues the failure to pass Biden's big social spending bill. That was transformational. And we came within 2 votes of doing that. And he specifically calls out Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin for not getting on board. And he's saying we are going to regret not passing this bill. And he says, without a doubt, if we would have passed it, we would be in perfect condition to win these midterm elections and take them and pass provisions for the American people. Take a look, you guys. I'm going to be taking a look at this on his actual website. Like I said, just came out within the last 24 hours. Bernie Sanders wants Build Back Better back. So let's dive right in. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest with stimulus, the midterms, what's happening right now in Congress. But before we do me a quick favor. If you appreciate the updates, letting you know everything happening, even within the last 24 hours, the breaking news that's happening, do me a quick favor, smash that like button for me. Helps out the channel a ton, you guys. Also, if you want to stay up to date, totally free, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. I'll keep you up to speed on everything as it unfolds. And we've been hearing things were going to ramp up as we get closer to midterm elections. All of these things were going to be coming back, and it's coming to fruition just like we heard. And we will see you guys. Also, if you got any specific questions, hit me up on Instagram at SteveRam3. Shoot me a DM. Best way to get a hold of me directly. And also, I got a second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to help people out with information about growing wealth, personal finances. We're going to need every bit of help as we can get right now with what we're hearing is coming with our economy. And also, if you want access to the comprehensive list of every stimulus check in the nation on every level, states, cities, counties, I spent the last 3 months assembling it with all the contact information, phone numbers, websites, email addresses, application forms, everything in one easy to access place at www.reliefroadmap.com. Assembled that for you if you are interested. But with that being said, let's take a look at this. And just coming out from Bernie Sanders saying we need to bring back the stimulus package known as the Build Back Better bill with all the stimulus provisions needs to come back, and now. So, link in the description below to this directly from Bernie Sanders' website. As he says, the world faces enormous crises. Senator Bernie Sanders began. I had asked the Vermont Independent how he would characterize the 2 years of razor-thin 50-50 Democratic majority. My question was broad. Sanders even went broader in his response, outlining of various emergencies that we're facing with the general public, including climate change, the ongoing pandemic, assaults on democracy, even the risk of nuclear war, with escalating threats from Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Other than that, everything is really good, Sanders concluded sarcastically. He pivoted then to the argument that he is best known for, the struggle that insists is overlooked by the corporate-owned media and what he sees as taboo in national conversation, nonetheless defining modern politics, the plight of the American worker. Ahead of the critical midterm elections, Sanders says that he will continue to prod his Democratic Party to connect with the working class voters. He's saying there is a disconnect between the working class and the Democratic majority. Let me know if you agree, even as he believes the party may not be up to the task of defending their interests. Now, he outlined the compounding crisis that affects people of an individual level. He said rising inflation, which we're hearing, the economy is the #1 concern of the majority of Americans. Stagnant wages, prohibitive costs of childcare, healthcare, education, housing. Younger generations economically worse off right now than their parents were growing up. Now, we need to make radical changes in the economy to protect the needs of working people. So, to me, that's what's been going on, Sanders finished. And the problem of the Democratic Party is, for a variety of reasons, it's not addressing those issues effectively. These are not unfamiliar arguments for anyone who's been paying attention to politics for the past 6 years. Sanders capitulated to the national scene in the 2016 Democratic primaries by highlighting their issues, reiterating them in the 2020 elections, and more recently during the fight to pass the ill-fated Build Back Better Act. He raised them again in his one-man crusade to amend the Inflation Reduction Act, efforts stymied not only by Republicans but by most members of his own caucus. As you'll recall, he tried to bring back stimulus provisions into the Inflation Reduction Act but was denied. This is when many Democrats disagree with me. They can go out and tell the American people all these great things that they do. Well, you can argue how significant any of these things are, but do you think the average American says, "Oh, my God, my life is so much better, I can't believe it because of the Inflation Reduction Act," Sanders said. Can you really sell something that in 4 years we're going to be negotiating 10 drugs that will benefit Medicare, not you as a consumer? You think people are going to say, wow, really good. So he's saying that a lot of the stuff in this Inflation Reduction Act, it's not directly helping people. He's saying it's not enough. Now, in a sense, Sanders is always in the minority. He was one of 2 independents in the caucus within the Democratic Party, the other being Senator Angus King of the neighboring state of Maine. This distinction has been snidely noted by opponents in his 2 previous presidential bids in 2016 and 2020. Why seek the Democratic nomination if he is unwilling to bear the party's mantle? When I asked if there's an dissonance in criticizing the Democratic Party when he himself is an independent, Sanders acknowledged, yeah, there is. So he disagrees a lot with a lot of what the Democratic Party is doing as well. He feels that they're not necessarily addressing the true needs of the people. Now listen to this. Characteristically, Sanders takes a step back when offering his answers. He credited Biden for championing and congressional Democrats for passing the American Rescue Plan, the $1.9 trillion measure intended to offer relief to the most vulnerable citizens, with provisions such as temporary expanded child tax credits, increased nutrition benefits for low-income Americans, and rental assistance. He also noted that Biden's approval ratings were at the highest point in March of 2021, the same month that he signed that bill, indicating that if they passed more stimulus provisions, more legislation, it would help out with the approval ratings of Biden and Democrats. What was always a part of that equation was we would come back with another piece of legislation to deal with the long-term systematic problems facing Americans, not just the emergency problems, Sanders said. That other piece of legislation was going to be the Build Back Better Act, which among many other things would have extended the child tax credits, offered universal pre-kindergarten, paid family leave, and expanded Medicare to cover hearing, dental, and vision. But the Build Back Better Act, which passed in the House, it died in the Senate due to the opposition of Senator Joe Manchin. That was transformational, and we came within 2 votes of doing that, and I think that the Democratic Party will forever regret not having those 2 votes, Sanders said, referring to Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. But you asked me, what do you say to people? This is what you say to people. Give us 2 or 3 more senators. Give us control of the House. And in fact, we begin addressing all of those issues. If Democrats had passed the Build Back Better Act, Sanders contended, there would be no question as we go into these midterms that both the House and the Senate would be securely Democratic. Now, if the Democrats do manage to beat the expectations, let's say they win Congress, the House and the Senate, and hold both chambers in Congress, Sanders does have expectations for the next term. He anticipates another vote of changing the filibuster and circling back to voting rights, efforts that previously failed by 2 votes, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. That plus a very strong reconciliation bill. So they're saying they're bringing it back, which can take us to a revised Build Back Better. But a very significant piece of legislation that addresses the long-term systematic problems facing the country, he said. But if those systematic problems are not addressed, Sanders argued, the situation will only worsen with the working Americans and for Democrats. It ties into politics because if you don't address it, people are saying, What is the government doing for me? That's exactly what Trump is benefiting from right now. Either show the government that you can work for the ordinary people to address those problems like raising the minimum wage. If not, people lose faith in the government and you move towards fascism, Bernie Sanders said. Wow. Let me know your thoughts, you guys, in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? But Bernie Sanders is saying, nobody is saying, thank God for the Inflation Reduction Act. We need stimulus provisions that are directly going to assist people. He wants to bring Build Back Better back. Now, we will see, you guys, because the structure of the Senate is very important. I mentioned this earlier in my video today, as we're also hearing Kyrsten Sinema. Some people are suggesting that she might flip parties, which could change the structure of the Senate significantly, you guys. And right now, in 50-50, there is a lot of power that those senators hold. We will see. I will keep you up to date, but all of these stimulus provisions coming back to the table, coming back to negotiations, I'll keep you up to date every step of the way, you guys. But that is the latest, and as always, thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far, you haven't already, don't forget to take a quick second, smash that like button for me, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date. Any specific questions, Instagram at SteveRam3. Consider joining the second channel, Steve Ram Finance, and comprehensive list of every stimulus check in the nation for states, cities, counties, every level at www.reliefroadmap.com. But with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.